Let us resume our lectures on machine learning for image processing. In the last lecture, we have discussed on Bayesian classification using likelihood and prior together. That is classification using posterior. Okay, we introduced it, and we have also seen the differences between classification with likelihood and posterior to some extent. We have seen more the differences in their definitions. Now in this class, we will see more on the differences in classification using the posterior versus likelihood. We will also see when we do classification with likelihood or with posterior, similar to the case where we have seen the classification with prior, we will see what are the associated error in that classification. Okay, we will see how will be the decision boundary. Okay, how to find decision boundary, how will be the decision boundaries, and also we will see the we will see we will quantify the probability of error or the error associated with the decision boundary, that is through posterior. Okay, so let me share the screen. So far, if you have any doubts or questions, you can quickly ask. Okay, no, otherwise I assume that things are clear and I'm moving on. Okay, so now in the last class, I have asked to see the classification with posterior. The difference between posterior and the likelihood is that as you can see here, likelihood takes measurements into account, while the posterior takes both measurements and the prior probability domain knowledge into account in its classification. Okay, let us see the first case. When the prior probabilities are equal, the question now is, if I take the classification using the posterior versus using the likelihood, will there be any difference? Okay, or in other words, I will try to pose a general question and then we will come to that discussion. Say, assume that our priority is to take, okay, the decision based on the likelihood. Also assume that P of omega I given X is what we wish to use for doing classification. Okay, how do we go about it? Any answers? What should be the decision rule? In classification with posterior, and what should be the decision boundary, or how to find the decision boundary? Okay, in this case, we will also see what is the associated error. How to quantify the associated error. Okay, so now, yeah, I request one of you to start. How to come up with the decision boundary?
The decision rule is still the same. You equate two probabilities.
Right, very good. So decision boundary to come up, what we use is P of omega I or omega 1. Let us take two class case for simplicity. Okay, and the number of features may be 1 or 2. We will start with 1 and then we will see for 2 as well. P of omega 2 given X. Okay, this is how we come up with the decision boundary. Okay, this will give us decision boundary. But what is the decision rule? This will lead us, if we solve this, we get some condition on X. That condition on X will give us a decision boundary. Okay, so that condition on X may be a point in one dimension. If X is one dimensional feature, it may be a line if it is two dimensional features. Okay, if it is three dimensional, there may be hyperplane. Okay, in higher dimensions, there may be hyperplanes. Okay, or they can be ellipsoids, hyperellipsoids, and so on. Okay, in higher dimensions. In two dimensions, there may be parabola, or even they can be ellipses, circles. Okay, these are the different decision boundaries possible. Okay, in the case 1, case 2, case 3, we have seen even with likelihood. Okay, so we have seen that case 1, case 2 will lead only a straight line. decision boundaries. Whereas case 3, where sigma 1, the covariance matrix of class 1 and class 2 are not equal, can lead to second degree polynomial based decision boundaries. They can be parabolic, or they can be hyperbolic, or circles, and so on. In higher dimensions, they're all hyper. Okay, hyper plane, hyper ellipsoids, and so on. Okay, or sphere, and so on. Okay, so we'll see some visualization of them in the later class. But now let us move forward on identifying how do I find the decision boundary here. How do I get the decision rule? I need a quick answer.
If probability of omega 1 given x is greater than probability of omega 2 given x, then it belongs to omega 1.
Yeah, x belongs to omega 1 class if probability of omega 1 given x, okay, is greater than p of omega 2 given x. Okay, this is simply the decision rule. Okay, correct or not? Else it belongs to x belongs to omega 2. Okay, if we have more classes, then how will this decision rule change? If we have more classes, x belongs to omega I, if and only if probability of omega I given x is greater than or equal to probability of omega j given x for all j not equal to I. Okay, since equal also we have put, even if it is the for all j, if you write, that is fine. Okay, j means all classes. J is equal to 1 to c. Okay, and then this is the decision boundary. Are these things clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now the question is, see, if I take the first example, let us take the example 1. Okay, let us take first example. We'll go to associated error later. Okay, wherein we have some p of x given omega 1 and p of x given omega 2. So they can be, okay, we can take a simple case just to start. Okay, and then p of x given omega 2 is normal with 1 comma 1. In this case, if I take only likelihoods, what is the decision boundary? If I take only the likelihoods, what will be the decision boundary? In this example 1.
1 by 2.
Yeah, 1 by 2. It will be midway between these two means. Fine. Now in this case, when I have the condition that p of omega 1 equal to p of omega 2, can one of you tell what may be the decision boundary? Will this decision boundary change, or the decision rules change, or doesn't change? I need some answer.
Doesn't change, sir.
Doesn't change. Okay. Very good. But why it doesn't change? See,
Priors are equal.
Right. Priors are equal means, see, I will anyway equate these two for decision boundaries, right? So in fact, I need to compare p of omega 1 versus p of omega 2 given x. Okay, for any for obtaining decision rule or decision boundary. I will equate them to find decision boundary. I will see which is greater to find the decision rule. That is only the difference. But I have to compare p of omega 1 given x versus p of omega 2 given x. In this case, if I rewrite them in terms of, in any case, if I rewrite them in terms of the likelihoods and the priors, which usually only we will have. Okay, no one will give us the posterior probabilities. Okay, most of the cases we formulate ourselves and find out the based on prior knowledge and domain knowledge, p of omega 1 and p of omega 2. Based on measurements, we ourselves quantify p of x given omega 1 and model using some mathematical distribution. Okay, so p of x given omega 1 and p of omega 1, these two only will be available, one from the data, one from the modeling of the problem or the domain knowledge. Okay, so these two are in our hands. No time we directly get p of omega 1 given x. So most of the cases, in almost all problems, we split this into these terms. Okay, to take this forward. Versus P of x given omega 1 and P of omega 2. Is this correct? What I'm writing? By P of x. Huh? Okay. So this is what I have to compare. Now in this, which are the terms that may vary? Which is terms that is constant or same between these two in comparison? Which terms are same here?
Will be same.
Huh?
Yes.
P of x, yes, it will be
Yeah.
same.
Because it considers P of x is based on the normalization term based on all class, okay, likelihoods and prayers. Okay, as we have seen the expansion in the last class, okay, P of x is equal to summation over I is equal to 1 to C classes if we have C classes, otherwise 2 classes. P of omega I, sorry, P of x given omega I into P of omega I. Okay, so in this is a constant term at a given x, and P of x are same in both cases. So this doesn't come into comparison. So now in the case where P of omega 1 equal to P of omega 2, can you make a general rule? Can you give any inference in that case, in that special case? Can you tell anything between the decision taken with posterior versus decision taken with likelihood?
Both the decision boundaries and rules are the same.
Yeah, decision with posterior is exactly equal to decision with likelihood. Because what is this saying? P of omega 1 equal to P of omega 2. It is just saying that equally likely. Don't bother about prior knowledge. I don't have any prior knowledge. That's what it is saying. Okay, it is equally likely. I have no knowledge about one being more important than other, or I know that both are equally likely. Okay, that's what P of omega 1 equal to P of omega 2 says. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, but in general, do you think the decision made by posterior and the decision most made by the likelihoods will be same in general? Not in this case.
No.
Example 2.
No.
Omega 1
No.
equal to 2 times P of omega 2. Okay, I think, yeah, correct. In this case, do you think both will be same again?
No, sir, no.
X star is equal to half with what likelihood? Okay, and see, without solving anything, can you guess something about what may be the X star? Okay, in with posterior.
1/3.
1/3. Okay, you solved, but I don't want you to solve. If your answer is correct, you have solved and gave. But I think your answer is also not correct. But I think without solving, can you infer something or can you guess something that, see, it is 1/2 is previously what you had, decision rule. I will try to see if I can plot somewhere. Okay, so excuse me to make this a little crowded. Okay, this is one density. This is another density. Okay, so this is P of what I have plotted. What do you think I have plotted here?
P of omega 1 is equal to
Omega 1 or P of omega 1 given x?
x given omega.
Yeah, this only I can plot conveniently. Okay, P of omega 1 given x I can't plot easily because there is a term of P of x there. Okay, I don't know normalization. I can't compute it that equal easily. Okay, so I most of the times I only plot, even if I want to discuss something based on with say decision with posterior, I will only plot this likelihoods and then discuss the other thing as well. Okay, so now this is one decision boundary. This is 0 anyway. Okay, and this is sorry. Okay, so this is 0, this is 1, and half is the decision boundary with, okay, with likelihood. Now the question is, P of omega 1, class 1 probability is higher than class 2 probability. In that case, what do you think? What will happen to the decision boundary?
I think it shifts actually, shifts from the most likelihood.
Yeah, which side it shifts? It has to shift from the likelihood, like base decision. Okay, it has to shift from here. Okay, but in which direction do you think it shifts?
To the right.
Sir,
To the right. Huh?
yes, sir. P given x given omega 2. Sir.
Okay, so somebody is saying it shifts to the right. Okay, okay, so it shifts somewhere here. Okay, assume that it shifts to the right. Correct?
Yes,
All agree with this? Huh?
yes, sir.
Yeah, why?
The weight given to omega 1 is larger, so to compensate for that, it shifts to.
Very good, very good. Correct. So the more samples will come anyway from the class 1 samples, or more probable samples are from class 1. So I should naturally, if I want to overtake or take a decision which is beyond this likelihood information, then I have to give some weight or importance for the prior probability. That prior probability says there are more probable that the samples are from omega 1 class, and hence I will tend to classify more samples to omega 1 class than what I would have done before. Okay, so plus epsilon now. Is this fine? Huh? Plus epsilon, this positive quantity. The shifts are away from the mean of most probable class. Okay, so since the prior probability of that class is higher, omega 1 class is higher, whichever class is higher, it shifts away from the mean of that most probable class. So in other words, while telling decision boundary shifts away, okay, from mu of most probable class. Okay, is this clear?
Sir, can you explain once again how X is shifting to the right because of taking posterior?
Correct, correct. See, this is omega 1 class. Okay, so this is omega 1 class means this is all. See, this is the likelihood of omega 1 class. See, the samples of omega 1 class in this region, there is more likely that the samples will be classified to omega 1 class. Okay, and if I only consider likelihood, it says up to here you classify to omega 1 class. Okay, this is the region up to here you have omega 1 class, and up to from here you have omega 2 class. Okay, that's what is the likelihood decision. Now the prior probability of omega 1 class is higher. It means that I have more confidence, okay, saying that in this region class 1 samples occur more frequently than class 2 samples. Okay, even though your measurement says something, okay, you may have 100 samples only at your hand. Okay, so that too you might have recorded on a single day. Okay, so tomorrow much more samples may come to this side, or your measurements may be misleading as well here. Okay, so in sea bass fishes, for example, need not be always of same length and width in all the regions. Some region may have even higher, longer length. Okay, salmon fishes. Assume that. Okay, something like that. So this is prior probability being higher gives more importance, or more samples are to be put into that class. That's what it says. Okay, more samples of this class are more probable. That will be taken care if the decision boundary shifts to this side. Okay, because the posterior also takes importance of contribution of both terms in its decision. Okay, is this clear?
So we are saying that even if this particular feature looks more like omega 2, I have more confidence that this is in omega 1.
Correct.
Because, yeah, okay, sir, I get it. Thank you.
Correct. No. So that's why this also plays an important role. For example, I know that see, if I am taking images with synthetic aperture radar sensor, okay, I know that say gamma distributed noise. Okay, that means in which regions, how will be the spread of this noise I can assess. So based on that, I can design my filter. Okay, so I will give reasonable importance to that. So somebody may say that based on the, say by looking at one image or few images, okay, 3x3 filter is sufficient to filter. But this information of prior may tell that you should use at least 7x7. Okay, then I will make a compromise in posterior. Okay, so that's a specific example, but that's what is taken care in the posterior based decision. Okay, so let us see this now. Okay, quickly let us see this. So now P of x given omega 1. Okay, normal, same example. You start solving it now. P of x given omega 2 is again normal with 1 comma 1. And now P of omega 1 is equal to 2 times P of omega 1. Sorry, P of omega 1 equal to 2 times P of omega 2. So let us solve and see, okay, what is the decision boundary in this case? Yeah, I request each of you to solve quickly. Okay, I will keep writing and I will write final answer if one of you gets. First, let us find decision boundary. Okay, how do I find? P of omega 1 given x is equal to P of omega 2 given x. Okay, at the decision boundary. Okay, see here, please note, when I mean by decision boundary, okay, these curves won't help me to find out the decision boundary here, because these are likelihoods only. Okay, so what I'm plotting here, P of x given omega 1, okay, and P of x given omega 2, these are likelihoods. So decision boundary won't come from here. This decision boundary is only likelihood based decision boundary. Okay, so which curves will help me to find the decision boundary? Okay, I will show that finally. Okay, when I get the answer here. Okay, so now essentially we have to simplify this. P of x given omega, as I said before, into P omega 1 is equal to P of x given omega 2 into P of omega 2. Okay, we can simplify this further. How do I simplify this further? Can one of you give a quick answer?
Of P of omega 1, I'll write 2 times.
Yeah, I will write 2 times, but P of x given omega 1, I will expand first. Okay, minus of x square. This is 2 times. Okay, into P of omega 2. Right? And this is equal to 1 by root 2 pi again. E power minus half x minus 1 whole square by, okay, by nothing by, okay, into P of omega 2. Is this fine? And this I will take, so while simplifying, what do? I take log here. Okay, correct or not? To simplify this, because exponential term is there, I will take log. So minus half x square, okay, plus ln of 2. This log with e, base e we will take. Okay, so I have written ln. Ln means log with base e. Hope you know that. And minus half x minus 1 whole square. Okay, if I solve this, I will get the decision boundary. Right? So what is the decision boundary? Am I doing correctly? Yes. So x, so I solve this, I just simplify this, x square terms will go away. Okay, so then what will happen to x? I can expand this also, if minus half x square, okay, plus x minus 1 by 2. Is this correct? Whatever I have written here? Yeah, I think it is correct. You correct me in case if I am not correct. Okay, cancel out, and x equal to half plus ln of 2. Is this answer correct?
Yes.
Dx.
Yes, sir.
This is decision boundary. Now, as you can see, ln of 2 is how much? 0.666, correct? So it is 0.5 plus 0.6, correct or not, roughly? Those who know ln of 2 can comment.
No, so 0.7.
It's okay. Better. Okay. So roughly it is 0.11. Okay. Or 12.
0.11,
So
sir.
now, yeah.
1.1.
Yeah. Sorry. 1.11. Okay. 1 or something. Okay. So now what will happen? This is the decision boundary now. So you see now something strange has happened. Okay. So this is the decision boundary with what? Posterior. It overweight, this being very high probability, P of omega 1 being very high probability, it even put the samples which are in testing, even if the sample that comes close to the mean of the second class sample, we will put into first class. Okay, while classification. Okay, so that in testing, in training samples, we anyway don't bother, we don't test them. Okay, because they are training samples. Okay, so essentially to get this as decision boundary, it is likely that the class 1 probabilities will be something like this. Let me see if I can plot even better. And class 2 probabilities, okay, maybe something, some other color I will try to use. Let me otherwise use the same color. This is class 2 probabilities I am plotting first. Okay, they are very, very small. And from here, they start increasing. Okay, they may be like this. Okay, what I'm trying to say is they will. Okay, so class 2 probabilities, class 1 probable posterior. Okay, I'm trying to write this sketch is for posterior. Okay, this is the posterior. There is a condition that is needed for posterior. You people remember?
Yes, sir.
This is P of omega 1 given x. Okay, and this is P of omega 2 given x. What is the condition for posterior?
So their sum equal to 1, sir.
Right, that's how I plotted somewhat carefully, though I think whether it fully justifies or not. Okay, so this is the decision boundary. This decision boundary has to be here. Okay, so I think my plots are to be slightly modified. But you people are able to capture what I'm trying to make it.
Sir,
Hmm.
I didn't get, sir. How did you plot this diagram?
What I'm plotting is not here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, good. Okay. So I said I have plotted like this and said this is P of omega 1 given x. Okay, and this is P of omega 2 given x. Okay, this one is P of omega 1 given x, and this is P of omega 2 given x, this plot. Okay, why did I say, why I plotted in this way is the reason, as somebody said, at any at any x, okay, at any x, if I just sum these two, okay, I should get equal to what? P of omega 1 given x plus P of omega 2 given x should be equal to
1.
1. That's what I'm trying to ensure. See, anyway, in this region, we know that the P of omega 1 given x is high, very high. That's why the decision region now with posterior, this all comes in R1. Okay, and this comes in R2 in posterior. Okay, whereas if I take the decision with the likelihood decision, this only comes under R1. Okay, and this comes under R2. Correct or not? Okay, this is likelihood decision, this is posterior decision. Now is it clear or still some questions are there?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yeah. Okay, decision regions. Okay, so in case if P of omega 2 is equal to 2 times P of omega 1, then what will happen? If P of omega 2, okay, case 3 if I say, or example 3, P of omega 1 is equal P of omega 2 equal to 2 times P of omega 1. In that case, what may happen? The decision mode,
The shift towards the left side.
yeah, shift towards the left one. Okay, so scenario will be completely opposite. Okay, that's how things will happen. Even in 2 dimensions, okay, so things will happen in the similar manner. Decision boundaries will shift away from the mean of the most probable class. Okay, we will see one 2-dimensional example as well, okay, to get the better idea. Before we move on and see the 2-dimensional example, let us see how to quantify the error, okay, in this associated with this decision now. We got the region 1 where the class 1 samples are classified. We also got the region 2 for the class 2 samples. Okay, given all these things, we also should be able to get quantification of some error. Okay, we should be able to quantify the error. Who will contribute to error? Can one of you tell? Let us write here. I want to quantify the associated error. Okay, how should I, which will give me the, like, which is the mathematical term that will help me to write the error?
Accuracy.
Fine, that's all fine. Accuracy fine, but here in this particular case, see, I am taking decision, what this is decision boundary. Okay, let me write the decision rule. Okay, and then the error. Decision rule is what? First, decision rule is, okay, R1, that means X belongs to omega 1. If P of omega 1 X given X is greater than or equal to P of omega 2 given X. Okay, so I am putting the samples up to here into omega 1 class. Okay, with what confidence or how much confidence I am putting them into this class?
1 minus that probability should be our error.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So with the confidence of P of omega 1 given X, I am putting this into class 1 here in this region, correct? So the error is now, this is, if this is the decision rule, the associated error is what? Is 1 minus of, somebody said, okay, omega 1 given X. But where is this? This quantity is the, that this is valid. This is the error in which region?
Omega 1, wherever you are classifying omega, R1 region. So like that.
In R1 only. Okay, in R1 only. Okay, so but in R1, is this P of omega 1 given X same for all X? Is it different at different? See, for example, X equal to this value. Okay, error. Is that same as X equal to this value? Or
Oh, those are not same.
they're all not same. So I can't write associated error in general in this case, unlike the associated error in prior probabilities, because prior probabilities has no connection with the measurements X. So I can simply write their error. But here, how should I write? Associated error, I have to write at all X or at a given X.
At a given X.
Yeah, I have to write that associated error at given X. Is this okay? But this is in R1 only. I want to know the error in R2 as well. How do I get the error in R2? What is the error in R2? Can one of you tell?
1 minus p of omega 2 by given x.
2 given x. Okay, fine, very good. So, or in this case, what is 1 minus p of omega 1 given x? What is 1 minus p of omega 1 given x?
Is
And
p
what is
of omega 2 given x directly.
Right. So this
Because
is
the sum is 1.
yeah. So this is in fact is equal to p of omega 2 given x. The second one is in fact is equal to p of omega 1 given x. Okay, I am writing here p of omega 1 given x. Right? Okay. So now I will use this, but what my interest is not just the error given x. Okay. I want to write the overall error. How should I get the overall error? So I need to get the overall error. Any idea? So what I need is probability of error. I don't just need probability of error given x. What I have here is probability of error given x. That's what we have just seen. Is equal to p of omega 2 given x. Okay, in R1 and p of omega 1 given x in R2. Okay, if I am classifying it, is putting into region 1, the error is contributed by p of omega 2 given x. Okay, if I am putting into region R2 sample, the error is being contributed by omega p of omega 1 given x. Okay, now I need the overall error. Tell me, how do I get? I need some answer, nice answer here.
Expectation.
Okay, very good. Expectation of probability of error given x. Is that you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Expand this. Can you expand this now? If I want to expand this, what should I do? What should I write here? Please fill this. You people can't fill it? See, what is the probability that this x is possible? See, if there are different possibilities. Okay, so in some region, this is the so I am just plotting. Okay, this is p of x given omega 1. Oh, sorry, omega 1 given x. And this is p of omega 2 given x. Okay, see, and this is x anyway. If p of error given x can be quantified at a given x, okay, so then this x occurs, that x, say this particular x occurs, this measurement occurs how many number of times over the whole number of samples that we have, and or in other words, what is the probability of this x occurring compared to any other value of possibility of other x's. Okay, that is quantified by whom? It is quantified by
P of x.
p of x. Okay, that's why the error, probability of error, now I can write as probability of error given x into p of x dx. Okay, is this clear? This is how the associated overall error when decision is with posterior. Okay. This is important. In fact, the elegance of Bayes classification lies in quantifying exactly the probability of errors. Many of the classification methods and other classification approaches, okay, will give classification, but they will not be able to quantify, okay, the associated error with the corresponding decision. But Bayesian classification quantifies with how much confidence you are doing this classification, or how much error is probable in associated with your decision. Okay, that's where its elegance or its like edge over the other classification methods lie. Also, now we want to expand this. Okay, so can one of you help quickly to expand this? See, I can write anyway minus infinity infinity, but I want to split this. Okay, and put the things explicitly. Here you see region R1, R2, and so on, right? So I want to write R1 separately, okay, and then I want to write R2 separately. This integral. Tell me what should I write in R1?
P of omega 2 given x
Into
P of x.
dx. In R2,
Probability of omega 1 given x into probability of x dx.
okay, fine. Can one of you see any further simplification that is possible for this? Huh? Do you agree with this or not?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the advantage of the second expansion compared to the first one? Why I have written like this again?
So we will know the limits.
Okay, we know the limits anyway. R1, R2 are found based on decision rule.
These are likelihoods, sir. We can measure and find out.
Yeah, we have exactly the expressions for this. Okay, P of omega 1 as such is you don't have direct expression for it. And P of x is very tedious to find. See, if you have only two classes, then this summation is over two classes. Okay, if you have C classes, the summation is over C classes. Okay, it's all tedious to find. And it's not necessary to find also. We can skip the use of P of x everywhere just by rewriting it. Okay, so this is what is referred to as probability of error. In Bayes rule, in Bayesian classification. In Bayesian classification, when we ask, in general, we should only consider posteriors. Okay, so though the classification with prior, likelihood are elements of Bayesian classification, the complete Bayesian classification is only with posterior. If I explicitly ask, if I don't give the information on prior and so on, then you can use the likelihoods. Okay. Otherwise, you should take more in general cases. Apply Bayesian classification means you should see for posterior based decision. Okay. So are the things clear here?
So could you explain once more why the probability of error changes with x, like probability of error given x?
Right. See, how did we write the probability of error? See, decision rule says what? You put into omega 1 category if P of omega 1 given x is greater than P of omega 2 given x. Okay. And this P of omega 1 given x, is it constant for all the x or will it be varying? Is this P of omega 1 given x is a constant quantity for all x, or for different x's P of omega 1 given x is also different? You should answer quickly. It is different. Okay, so when I take the decision with this, whenever this is more confident, I'm putting into this class. So say we also know that P of omega 1 given x plus P of omega 2 equal to 1. That means if at any given x, the sample may belongs to omega 1 class or omega 2 class. Fine. If I'm taking with the confidence having omega 1 class having more confidence, that means the error associated is omega 2 given x. That's what you're doing here. Okay, 1 minus P of omega 1 given x or P of omega 2 given x. Okay. Similarly, P of 1 minus P of omega 2 given x or P of omega 1 given x. But this is the error in R1 region, this is the error in R2 region. But the question is this quantity, whichever I have written here, okay, is this constant with all x or different at different x's?
Different with different x's.
Yeah, so I'm only quantifying the error at given x only. I'm not quantifying the overall error. In region R1, I'm saying that even in region R1 for a given x, I'm saying what is the error. So I have just probability of error given x.
Yes, sir, got it.
And then to get the overall error, what should I do? As somebody has rightly pointed out, expectation of this over x. Okay, this expectation is over x. Okay, so that I have expanded. So probability of error given x into p of x dx. Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine, good. So now, are there any other questions? Now, see, in most of the problems, you may need to expand this as well. Okay, and then show that expansion. So let us take a two-dimensional example. There we discuss. Okay, in two-dimensional example as well. So assume that p of x given omega 1, I will not solve as usual. Okay, I will give some directions and give final answers. Let this be with mean 0, 0 and variance. Okay, I will put a simpler one for me. Okay, and p of x given omega 2. We have solved this if you people remember. Okay, so this is what p of x given, and p of omega 1 is equal to 2 times p of omega 2. Okay, just for simplicity, let us take this and find the given this, given all this. Okay, what is that we need to find? Find decision boundary, decision regions, and third one is associated error. Error for Bayesian classification. This is the problem. Okay, so now, so in likelihood based decision, when you did the likelihood based decision, so for likelihood based decision, let us write directly likelihood based decision, decision boundary and so on, and then we will discuss on the posterior based decisions. We have what? Did anyone remember? X1 plus X2 is equal to 2 or 1?
1, 1.
Right. This is the decision boundary we had. In other words, we have decision regions. R1 is X1 plus X2 minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. X1 plus X2, R2 is X1 plus X2 minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0. Are these things correct? Let us sketch them. Okay, so this is, let this be X1 and this be X2 and this be 1. Okay, let me put somewhere. Let this be 1 and this be 1. Okay, so the line decision line is like this. Okay, this is the decision boundary we had. Correct? This X1 plus X2 is equal to 1. Okay, and which is R1 now? This is region R1 because the mean mu1 is here. Okay, and then the mean mu2 is here, and hence this is R2. This is all in likelihood based decision. Okay, so now let us see what can one of you tell what may happen to the posterior based decision. I need some quick answers now.
It will shift, right?
It will shift right because P of omega 1 is greater than. Okay, so here the context is P of omega 1 is greater than, okay, P of omega 2, and hence shifts away from the mean. So, but do you think still will this be a linear line or will anything change on the linearity?
It may not be perpendicular to what previous we had.
Okay, so let us see quickly. So P of for finding decision boundary, what we need to do, P of omega 1 given x is equal to P of omega 2 given x. Right? And let us do this. So I will directly write the expansions 1 by 2 pi. Okay, sigma power half. Sigma is, so as you people have seen, see here. Okay, mod of covariance matrix is 16. Okay, and covariance matrix inverse is 1 by 4 into identity. Correct? So given this, the sigma is power half is 4, e power minus half. What should I write here? It is a, as I said, this is a diagonal covariance matrix, x1 square by sigma 1 square plus x2 square by sigma 2 square. Since both are same here, okay, by 4. Okay, sigma 1 square, sigma 2 square are 4s. Okay, is equal into 2 times P of omega 2, which is P of omega 1, is equal to, okay, 1 by 2 pi into 4, exactly same covariance matrix, x1 minus 1. What is this x1 I am writing here? x2 minus 1 whole square by 4 into P of omega 2. What is this x1, x2 I am writing here?
Features.
They are features. Very good. Okay. So now giving all this, what I take ln again. Okay. And simplify. If you simplify quickly, what do you think will happen?
We'll probably have that line 2 term over here.
Right. So we have actually, I will simplify in a different manner, but you people keep simplifying. Okay. So I will write here. 8 ln 2, okay, minus x1 square plus x2 square is equal to, so I will write x1 square plus x2 square, okay, with negative sign, plus, okay, 2x1 x2, 2 into x1 plus x2. No, so my simplification may or may not be correct. Okay, minus 2. Okay, so just check if this is correct. This implies that the decision boundary now is, okay, so x1 plus x2 is equal to 1 plus 4 times ln of 2. Is this correct? Yeah, request you people to check quickly. Okay, I assume that it is correct. Okay, but however, it is one thing is sure that all the quadratic terms will cancel out. So you will only have a linear term. So decision boundary is still a straight line. Okay, it will still be a straight line, and that will be some straight line. It angle of the decision boundary is, or the say normal of the decision boundary is also same. Okay, or in the word slope of the decision boundary is also same. It doesn't change. Okay, so what changes is only there is a shift from the x, okay, from the most probable class. That only will happen. Okay, so this is the decision boundary with positive.
Sir, we have a class at 11.
Okay, so we'll stop here. Okay, then the question now is, discussion now is, how do you find out the associated error? Okay, decision regions and others are clear. Okay, how do you find out the associated errors? Okay, so while finding associated errors here, this integral, will this be a single integral or something else? it will be a double integral integrating over x1 and x2. Okay, both features. Oh, like both dimensions. Okay, that you should take care. Fine. So we will have an exam on the coming class, that is on Friday. It's a Moodle exam based on up to whatever is covered up to the Monday class. And you will also have a assignment given this day, today mostly, on Bayesian classification problems. And programming assignment also may be given. Okay. No, bye then. Bye to all. Yeah, I will mostly record a video lecture and send on for Friday's class. Okay. Bye then. Bye. So other students, if they have any quick questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we will stop here.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, that linear boundary, how will it shift above mu2?
Yeah. So see, mu2 means what? It is based on the measurements that are made for the class 2 samples. Okay. And training samples. So what it says is, see, even though the measurements are saying this, so see, for example, if the measurements are taken with high intensity camera, where say the intensity, there is an offset while recording the images of some classes or objects. Okay. So in that case, what may happen? Class 2, all class 2 samples may get higher intensity regions than class 1. Due to that reason, the measurements may be on the higher side compared to lower side, or it may also happen that they may be on the lower side compared to the actual measurement side. So this prior probability being given very high importance or weightage here, it will overweigh the measurements as well. So in most of the cases, practical cases, you may not have that much confidence that prior probability of class 1 will be 2 times that of the class 2 and so on. You may only say that it is say 1.5 times or 1.2 times that of class 1. In that case, it doesn't affect that much.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, okay. No, fine then. This is just for example, we have taken a extreme case to show the effect of prior probability. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you then. So any other questions? Okay, bye. Thank you.